Jared Segal here with rockkarate.com, and we are totally privileged to have rock star photographer Greg Watermann with us. Just like anybody in the arts, everybody needs that break, right? A musician needs that break. It needs to be in the right place at the right time. For you, looking back, what was that? Was there a pivotal moment kind of in your history that you could point to and say, you know what, that was the point that kind of pushed me to the next level?
Actually, the way you phrased that, pushed me to the next level, is the best part, or the best way to put it. There wasn't necessarily a defining moment, like just right now, oh, I'm suddenly here and everything is like different and my world has changed. It was such a slow, gradual process that each accomplishment that did move me to the next level just sort of went only barely noticed, instead of, oh, let's have a party because I just got to shoot this band. It was very slow, and it took a long time, but I think that gave me a better established base of what I've been doing, because it's been this very long, drawn-out process of like one band and then another band and then another tour and then another cover and then another whatever. So yeah, there wasn't specifically a solid point where everything was different after that point, but having accomplished each one of those things, you do notice then that things are suddenly different. It's like, not that I've arrived, but I'm at the next level, and then you just do what you can to stay there. I got my first camera when I was 7, and I was immediately motivated, I guess, by the whole process of like looking through a camera, seeing something that I liked, thinking to myself, hey, I like that, pushing the button, and then being able to take that image later and show it to somebody. Like, this is something that I saw, I thought it was cool, what do you think? So that started out just as a child, and then when I was a little older, like 12, started playing around with my dad's camera, an SLR, a real camera, where you could actually, you can focus here and change the exposure, and suddenly having the ability to control an image and to control something that I see, as opposed to just recording it only, that was like the last straw for me, and just pushed me over the deep end, and it went past a hobby then and just turned into an obsession, I think.
We kind of deal with this with our site in reporting what we feel is the truth, okay? And being a photographer, and a very successful photographer, it's got to be difficult, right? Sometimes, because isn't your gut tell you that you wish you could report the truth no matter what it is, but you've got to kind of go through kind of a filtration of sorts, because you want to maintain a friendship with the bands or the acts and you want the work, and you need the work to survive, you need the work to live. And so do you feel kind of a push-pull, a tug-of-war inside at times? Yes,
and that's probably, some of it probably has to do with, again, the way that I've decided to approach what I do. I certainly wouldn't call myself an investigative reporter, trying to, source out all the dirt and the nth degree thing. I mean, I'm part of the music industry. I'm part of the music that people experience, and the way that I am part of that is by contributing my photos to that. And so if I want to remain part of the entertainment industry and be part of this process, obviously I need to be positively feeding it. I mean, I don't have this burning desire to release to the world that so-and-so secretly can't hit a vocal track unless he drinks orange juice mixed with, nitrous oxide or something, I don't know, whatever. But that's not my point in life, to expose that point. My point in life is to show that singer nailing that vocal track in a beautiful photo that the fans can be like, oh, that's where he's singing that one part of that one song, I love that. So part of it, I think, is just how you define yourself and what you want to do and what you want to be part of, I think.
We interviewed Gavin Rossdale last night, and he said something pretty interesting, and which brings me to my next question. He's on the quest for the perfect song. He alluded to that. And so my question for you is, are you constantly on the quest for that perfect photo? Is there a perfect photo in your head?
Yeah, I'm constantly on a quest for that, like every time a camera's in my hand. I mean, I'm not interested in taking pictures unless they're incredible. I'm not interested in taking pictures unless they're pictures that nobody else can take. That's why I don't want to be in the photo pit. I want to actually be on stage so that I can get work that's unique.
What does it look like? What's the in your head, in Greg Watermann's head? What's that perfect pic look like to you?
The perfect photo is a photo where you look at it, your initial thought is, holy crap, that's a great photo. And then after you've stared at it for an hour, you still think that. My favorite album cover of all time, and that's the Clash London Calling. It's such a great shot. And the girl that shot it, she hates that picture because it's not actually 100% in focus. I read an interview about it. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. Like one of the most iconic photos in rock and roll, and the photographer can't stand it and wishes that it was not even used. I think that's great. But it's a great photo. It's a moment. It's energy. It's real. It's rock and roll. It's rock and roll lighting. It's a rock and roll event. It's a rock and roll. Everything about it is. And so.
Well, last question. When I'm looking at your photography, you can tell it's a Greg Watermann pick. It just is. It just has, for me, it just has that response. And for you to be able to do that is amazing, because like many artists, there's a million people on MySpace. Everyone's raising their hand. Hey, notice me, notice me. Right. And you've managed to kind of carve your own identity out in your photography. So for that, I think it's amazing. Last question to you. What's your legacy? Do you think about legacy at all? How do you want to be remembered?
It's too early to actually think about the legacy. How I want to be remembered is just, I want to be remembered as one of the great live rock and roll photographers in the history of the game. That's all. I mean, it's and I appreciate that you made a comment about noticing that, you know, I have a specific style. I mean, I've been shooting professionally now for 22 years, which means 22 years professionally, forget about the rest of it, but 22 years of looking through a camera and going, wow, that's nice, click. Wow, that's nice, click. Wow, that's nice too, click. And because I've certainly done that at this point millions of times, there's going to be repetition to that, which is part of what makes my style. So in part of my legacy, or what I want to leave behind, I want people to just look at a photo and it's like, oh yeah, that's obviously a Greg Watermann photo. Or it's like, oh, that's that famous photo Greg Watermann did, a System of a Down. The same way that I look at work that I'm inspired by, say, for instance, Jim Marshall, who's a huge inspiration to me. His picture of the Beatles at Candlestick Park, 1967, from their last concert. It's like, if I would like to have a shot in my repertoire over, I'm hoping that I have another 30 or 40 years of shooting. I'd like to take a shot sometime in my life that's that shot, where it's such a defining moment. It's such a line in the sand, and it's a great picture. It's technically perfect, and you don't even have to have it explained to you. You just look at it and you're like, wow, that's a great picture. So that would be part of my legacy, to leave behind things that are part of the public's consciousness of rock and roll.
Will I treat you good?